So for those of you who are new to the Three Jewels or new to ACI, welcome. There's some nice new faces. For those of you who are old and haggard, welcome back. You made it to another round, which is so nice. From those of you who are from out of town and have traveled a long distance, thank you for doing that. And may you find what you're looking for. So we've got a few traditions in this center. So just go for the ride while we start. Okay. The first things we're going to do is we're going to stop thinking about the world like we think about the world out there. So I'm going to ask you just to take a moment to be in your own space and think, why are you here? Why did you come? What pushed you to come? You could be doing so many other things in New York City. Yeah? We could go next door and get drunk together. Let's. No. So really think about that, because that's the beginning of it all for you. You're unlikely to have incredible realizations without that basic fundamental, and you have to be honest and truthful to yourselves. Why are you here? And as you're contemplating that, go with the flow as we do these first few things. We have an umse today. Sam, would you like to umse for us? What I ask you to do, for those of you who are in the first of these 18 courses, we just finished course 1 of 18 courses called ACI 1, Asian Classics Institute, course 1. We'll review that today. The people that did that, came to that, understand what this is. It's called the offering of the mandala. You don't have to get it right. It's all about what's in your heart and in your mind. What you should be thinking is that you're requesting for teachings to land in your consciousness, and that you're willing to offer the most perfect world you can imagine in exchange for understanding how you can get out of a suffering world. So you have to think of that. Imagine the most perfect universe you could imagine. Say, please, I give it to you. That's the formal request for teaching, and then you'll get a teaching. Sam? So take a seated meditation posture. We're going to meditate for about 5-7 minutes, just to shift our minds from where they were to where they need to be. Anybody here not meditated before? It's probably the most uncomfortable raising of a hand that you should do. No, good. What about meditated properly? Thank you. So just make sure you're comfortable. Seat position. Try not to move. I know it's really, really hot, right? But I'm going to ask if we turn off the aircon just to keep a bit of silence. And make sure above everything else that your back is straight, that your mouth is cleaned. And that your mind is focused in the sensation inside your being. And as you do that, close your eyes slightly until there's no shapes, just a little bit of light enough to keep you awake. Try and, once you've settled your body into a position, make a commitment not to move it. Not so much for your sake, but for the sake of those people next to you who are about to have a realization, were it not for your shifting. So make a commitment not to shift and be locked in your body so you can forget it. Start being aware of the sensation of your breath as it enters and exits your nostril. Allow your mind to ride the breath, just to be pressing against it as it exits and enters your nostrils. Feel the sensation of the air as it passes through the very tip of your nose, the finest hairs at the tip of your nose. Just relax into your body, any tension that you feel in your forehead, in your eyes, relax that tension. Your shoulders should be relaxed. It's the final check of your body until it settles into a perfect posture. Make sure the edges of your lips are a little bit up, your tummy slightly in. And it is what it is. You have this body and you're experiencing it within. Now start focusing on the breath as it enters your body and it exits your body. And imagine that each time the breath enters, it begins to transform the inside of you, your organs and your bones, to a translucent nature. You start seeing through, with every breath, your organs, until after maybe 4 or 5 breaths they totally disappear and you're left with the inside of the shell of your body in a brilliant sky blue, radiant and light. Your consciousness is in your breath. Now I'd like you to imagine the most perfect being you can imagine, the most evolved being, and invite them to come and sit in front of you in meditation posture, knees touching, face to face. Watch them as they come and sit in front of you. Think of their good qualities. Try and think of them in your mind clearly, what it is about them that makes them so evolved. In particular, think of the aspect of love inside of them, their capacity to feel love. And observe that love fall upon you. Now, make them some kind of magnificent offering. Give them something to please their senses. Something that's full of a beautiful intent from your side. Watch them smile as they recognize what you're doing. Feel how their love grows. Now, with them in front of you, deeply connected to you, I'd like you to consider your last 24 hours and scan for a moment in your last 24 hours where you did something that you weren't too proud of, that actually brought some suffering into this world, that it hurt somebody or yourself. That if your goal is happiness, how could you have done that thing? And be specific, replay it, and feel a deep sense of regret, not guilt, just a wish that you hadn't done it, that you'd been more clever, that you could have stopped it. Feel a sense of regret, recognizing that that action into the world must bring an equal and opposite reaction. And feel regret in your heart. Watch the being in front of you help you want to resolve that. There's a lightness that should come from the regret if you make a commitment to avoid doing that in the future. Feel clear about that. Now I'd like you to scan your last 24 hours and look at yourself as a third person and observe some goodness that you brought into the world. Remember a time in the last 24 hours where you did some activity that would lead to happiness or wisdom. Some goodness that you did towards yourself or another. Relive that, observe it, recognize you brought some happiness or goodness into the world, and allow your mind and your heart to feel joy about that. Let that joy grow in your heart as it connects with the love with the being in front of you. Allow yourself to expand through that feeling. Rejoice about that feeling. And consider how many other people in the world have done deeds like these today. Feel a happiness for them as you imagine them across the globe. That they will receive the benefits of having brought some goodness into the world. And when you feel full of that love, that joy, ask the being in front of you to please teach you at every turn, in any good circumstance or bad that happens to you in the future. May their wisdom, may their presence be around you to highlight things that you need to know to turn your life into a perfection. Ask them. And they agree. Now ask them to always stay close, to never leave you. And they agree. Now I'd like you to imagine them starting to float up and turn facing the same direction you're facing, shrinking, getting smaller and smaller until they're the size of your thumb maybe. They're intense with light and love. And they sit just above the crown of your head. Imagine the intensity of that light just protecting you above your head, imbuing every thought and experience you have. And keep them there for as long as you can. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. Welcome everyone. The first thing I want to talk about is class logistics. This is class 1 of 12 classes, which are now going to be 13 because this is elongated class 1. And to make these classes function, because there's so many of you, we need a couple of things that we need to talk through. So this is some practical business things. The first thing is the books and binders for the course. The course material is online. We are happy to print and bind beautiful books like we have in the past, but this time around we'd like to do it knowing who would like them. So in order to do that, we need a volunteer that will be happy to collect names, organize the printing, and deliver you the books. We try and make it free of charge, but we ask you that you at least cover the cost of the books. They're about $20-30 or something each at the most with the binders. If not, you can print them yourself online, or you can do the homeworks and quizzes online and do the readings online. And then you'll also send them into a central person for grading and the rest. You'll see throughout today why that aspect of this class is important. The homeworks and quizzes. It actually lets you cement the teachings in your heart as you habituate your mind with these concepts. It's not a fear thing or a scary thing. It's actually very helpful to get these ideas in your mind. Otherwise you have the 3 problems of the pot. We'll talk about that in a second. So, Hedy, are you going to be doing that, or should we get another person? We get another person, is that Huh? Okay, so is there a volunteer, somebody that wants to help do that?
I can do the books though.
You can do the books? Okay, so Hattie will be organizing the collection of your names if you want a book and a printing, and then we'll organize someone to do the grading and the rest. Yeah, so Bertie, you're going to do the grading, or you're volunteer? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Bertie.
I've never done a homework, so this is
This is a good start, Bertie. Thank you. But consider what you're doing, really. I mean, sitting down for a couple of hours once a week is infinitely more unique than the millions of people crawling through New York City today. There's a uniqueness about, I mean, you're all very strange, really. You know, like, to seek a knowledge that is transforming consciousness and to be committed enough to actually give 2 hours and not just think, oh, that's a good idea, I'll just go and do that. That's already, an incredible virtue and an incredible, what obstacles prevent other people from doing that? Everybody wants a deep sense of happiness, but what prevents them from actually acting on it? You seem not to have those obstacles if you're in the room, or if you do any other kind of study, you're on your own. So that's already a magnificent thing. What I'm suggesting is that make it even more magnificent by making sure you don't waste those 2 hours and actually let the stuff stick. And that's only part A, because part B you then have to live and breathe it, and then it really sticks and becomes impulses in you that become second nature. That's the stuff. So to do that, you need classroom hours. To get classroom hours effective, you need to do the study. So thank you, Bertie. Thank you, Haley. So that's that. I need an online coordinator, somebody that can do the video. I know that Jamie was volunteering, but if somebody else wants to take over, I'm happy for that. The video, audio, and the Facebook. So anyone want to volunteer, this is your time to show off and say, I'm so virtuous. Once, going twice.
I can do it, but we can use your laptop.
Thank you very much. Hetero, everybody, hooray. Yeah. Again, when you're doing these activities, what are they really? Okay, if you've who studied the ACI 1 course? Let's have a look. Who's really good at it? Good, do it. That's funny. To live and breathe this stuff, you got to live and breathe it. So to be able to grade everybody's homework, that means you have to read these concepts 20 times. Yeah? Because the only way I learned it was like, I have to mark another one and another one, and then you go, I actually can tell without looking at the cheat sheet what the answer is, and you don't recognize it. It's really good for you, and to be able to go and broadcast, you don't know the people that are sitting in Peru, where is she staying at the moment? Is she in Colombia? There's a lady somewhere in some place down in South America that's listening to this. There's people in Australia, there's people in England, there's people in France who have messaged and said thank you. There's people in Arizona, people all over the place who have they don't have a community, and who was saying that? Sephora, right? They don't have a community they can come and take a class from, so they rely on this technology. So you think of your karma to be able to facilitate that, sitting there clicking and doing the boring stuff that is producing the material, but you're enabling another person to sit there and have an experience that shifts the way they live in the world. That's an awesome karma. Now, if you do it without thinking, that's like average karma. If you do it with intent, my God, you've got opportunity for making these things come alive. So, thank you, Pedro. 3 jewels. Who's never been to the 3 jewels before? And once, going twice. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. This is the 3 jewels. Yeah. The 3 jewels is a center that I don't know. It opened in 1990 something in East 6th Street. I'll do my 3 jewels story. My name is Hector Marcel Geronimo Ochoa Peralta de Figurilli de Malacaria II. I was born when I was really young. This is my favorite jokes, by the way. In Argentina, and I grew up in Australia. That's why I've got both funny accents, one in Spanish and one in English. And in '94, I'm in New York, and I had an incredible serendipitous experience around Buddhism. And I was an ardent atheist. I didn't want to talk to anybody religious. They're all freaks of nature. And especially yoga people, they were just really strange for me. And I had this experience over a weekend where I couldn't deny that something beyond my understanding was happening to me, in terms of things popping in my face, and anyway, very strange. I won't go into that, but I'm telling a friend of mine, and I'm walking down 6th Street to go to a housewarming party, and he says, "Hey man, check out that Ruby bookstore," as my head is doing this, what's this Buddhism thing? And it says, 3 jewels, opening night, Tibetan Buddhist bookstore and tea house. You know, all welcome. And there's a party going on inside. And I walk into the Three Jewels, this place, the Three Jewels, when it was in 6th Street. And thus began an incredible fight that turned into a relationship with Tibetan Buddhist philosophy. They won, obviously. So the structure. So welcome to the Three Jewels. It is it's an outreach center. Nobody gets paid to work here. It's volunteer. I encourage you highly to grab every cent you have and put it in the bowl outside. It's a donation only. That's how they pay the rent. We don't charge for classes. Classes are free at the Three Jewels, except some yoga classes. We have suggested donations. But it really is trying to live, and it has for the last 20 years or something, 15, 16, 17 years or something, been operating without anybody being charged to get information that transforms lives. I've seen people come in and out of this place, coming in a mess and flying. And the only reason I'm on this cushion is because they won. I can't say it doesn't work, you know. So I highly encourage you to support the place in whatever way you can. It doesn't have to be money. It could be volunteering. So if you want to volunteer, I know there's lots of volunteering spots, but keep the place running. It's no one else's place but your place. It's the Three Jewels. You're welcome anytime. Just allow other people to come and have experiences by keeping it running, I ask you. This is all my asks. Thanks. We watch the class go half by the middle of the afternoon. The classes will be one class a week, 7:30 to 9:30. I'll do about, I don't know, a bunch of blah blah that I'll always run over time. And at that time when it gets to, 9:30 or something, you all start getting fidgety and wanting to go for the text, and then, you know, and then I'll try and keep it on time. But really the stuff that you get out of here depends highly on you. You can sit here passively and just listen to interesting stuff, and that won't do anything. You know, so if you're going to invest 2 hours of your precious breath just sitting here breathing, allow your mind to be open and to check what you could use this stuff for. That's why it was important when you came in to say, why am I here? You know, what am I seeking? Get clear on that, really clear. Never stop asking that. It's what pushes you forward. So I'll do my 50% by trying to give you authentic teachings that come directly from the lineage of the Dalai Lamas, traceable from Geshe, Holy Geshe Michael Roach, to Holy Ken Rinpoche, to Trijang Rinpoche, Pabonka Rinpoche, all the way back to Jason Kappa, and then beyond to Asanga and Chandrakirti and the Buddha himself. And that's one amazing thing about the Tibetans. They kept this crazy lists on lists about lists, and were able and we're able to benefit from that. You know, because some people sat in monasteries for 1,000 years in Tibet. They couldn't go outside because it was cold, so they had to sit inside. I don't know. And they sat there. You know, some young minds never exposed to these ideas, gradually developing these ideas until they turned to realizations, until they turned to precious things that they were able to share with other people. They could have the same experiences. They kept notes, verified teachings, right up to today, to you. Same words, same content, first time in English. That's what the ACI courses are. It's very special, really. So I'll do my 50% to give you a clean set of instructions about transforming your consciousness based on nothing from me, everything from Geshe Michael's translations of books that have been verified for centuries, experiences from holy beings that have reached a state of awareness beyond your normal everyday world sufferings. But that doesn't change you. Your 50% is required And that involves classroom hours, study, analyzing, challenging your thinking, and putting it into practice, doing some test cases, taking a leap into your own world about transforming one or two things, and then you become wizards and witches. No. Witches. So then I'll give you the classes. Please think about doing the homeworks and quizzes. They'll help you retain the core of the information. These courses took 15 to 20 years in Tibet. They've been condensed to 5 years on the essential points. We don't have to remember the texts, you just need to remember the essential points. So to do that, because this is ACI 2, we had ACI 1 as the basis of all the next courses. ACI 1, Asian Classics Institute 1, was called What is Buddhism? What the hell is Buddhism? Right? It's an ism. So we talked about what is it really, you know? So what is it?
Buddhism is
Give me the 3-line answer. No. It's so many things.
So many things.
Yeah.
It's a way to truly serve everyone on the planet, or everyone in the cosmos.
Okay, it's a way to serve everyone on the planet. Yeah.
It's a way to truly, for me, when I'm starting to see, it's a way to truly define this idea, this word love that I've heard all my life.
Okay. Buddhism is a way to define, to have an experience of it, or a definition of the word love for you. That's okay. What else is Buddhism? That's a good basis.
Means by which we can eliminate every single suffering and create every single bliss that you could possibly imagine.
Good.
In one lifetime.
In one lifetime. So bliss is the love. That's awesome. Get rid of the suffering. Good idea. Yeah.
From what I understand so far, the path of enlightenment for all beings as taught by Buddha.
That's awesome. That's good too. You know, I mean, it is a path. It's an explanation on how to see the circumstances we're in. Here's a set of guidelines. Go ahead and do these 20 things, or 5 things, or 2 things, or 108 things, or 84,000 things. And if you do them properly, you'll transform your world. But there are other teachings in the world. There are other paths that can lead you to the same realization of love. That can lead you to the same realization. This is just a very particular path. It's a very tested path. It's a very analytically written path, which means it's a complete path. And you've all had exposures at other paths, surely, if you've lived long enough and not been under a rock, you know. And for me, all the other paths seem incomplete. The reason I'm sitting here sharing this path is not because this is the truth, you know. It is the truth, but it's not the truth. You know, it is a truth. A truth that if practiced, so it's not some lofty idea, okay? If practiced, the way you looked at the world shifts completely until there's no more suffering. You're not caught up in this cycle of life, and we'll talk about that in a second. You experience a reality that's beyond the limited experience we have of reality at the moment. So, I'm going to, for the benefit of those who were not on ACI 1, and for the benefit of those who were in ACI 1, I'm going to do, the first half of this course, I'm going to do a review of ACI 1, so everybody's on the equal footing. If you weren't here, you're going to be writing so fast. Feel free to ask questions, but don't get upset if I ignore you, okay? Because we're going to jump through 10 classes in less than an hour, okay? And 12 weeks in less than an hour. So those of you who know the answer, those of you who were here, think of the answer. This is a great opportunity for you to check what you retained. Yeah? If you don't know what these concepts are, put a star next to the note that you make, And I'm more than happy to talk about it afterwards, privately, separately, or there's plenty of good students in the room that can help you as well. So I'm going to go to the essence of Course 1, which is the essence of what is Buddhism. Because everything that happens from now on expands on Course 1, on what is Buddhism. So we studied a text in ACI 1 called louder. Lamso Namsum. Good. Which is Tibetan for Three Principal Paths. Yep. We studied a book called Lamso Namsum, Three Principal Paths, by a character that we'll see over and over called Geshe Kappa. Lived around about
1357, 1357.
Someone clearly
1357 to
louder.
1357 to 1419.
Yep, 1357, 1419. Great. So that became the basis of what we're teaching. Did we actually study the text? No, but we studied the commentary by a gentleman called Pabonka Rinpoche. I think Pabonka Rinpoche is there. Is that right?
Pointy hat.
Yeah, pointy hat guy. He did a series of lectures in the 1920s, 21 or 24, I can't remember, where he outlaid a commentary on the Three Principal Paths. What was the commentary called? Thank you. Liberation in the Palming Hands. Good. That wasn't taught, by the way. Thank you, Sam. And who transcribed that? Someone listened to that commentary in the 1920s, wrote lots of notes, and then over years edited, making sure it was correct, presented it to Pabonka Rinpoche. Who was that? Holy Trishan Rinpoche. The reason this is important is because these main characters, Geshe Kappa, Pabonka Rinpoche, Trishan Rinpoche, are not only incredible people that made these ideas real in their lives, but we'll have to deal with them over and over and over in the next couple of years as we do these courses. So get to know them intimately. They'll be your friends. In fact, they're your teachers. They're the things that we're learning come from them, come from their realizations. Yeah. And Trishan Rinpoche was the heart teacher, or was one of the teachers of the current Dalai Lama, as well as Khenso Rinpoche. So Khenso Rinpoche was living here, taught this stuff not in New York, in New Jersey, a place called Howell. Good. Right. And if you've had the pleasure of meeting Khenso Rinpoche before he passed, he was an incredibly scary person. He was a compassionate, incredible person. He's one of the old-time Tibetans. He was in his monastery when he got bombed. He grabbed the last remaining things he could and ran and got to India, and he ended up here. So he's that last wave of people that studied in Tibet, got this knowledge in the high mountains of Tibet, in that old cultural experience that was Tibet at the time, and these teachings were safe there for 1,000 years. He was one of the last people to leave and have that teaching over there, pure teachings. And then His Holiness sent him to New Jersey after serving in Dharamsala for a little bit. He's the keeper of this lineage, of this entire path. He kept this and shared it with many Tibetans, and then shared it with Geshe Michael Roach and other students here in Howell, from which we got these things translated from English, from Tibetan and Sanskrit into English. Until that happened in the 1990s, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, we did not have these things to this extent in the West in English. It began to happen around that time in other centers. You think about how close you are in time to these holy ideas that transform reality, kept safe in Tibet for 1,000 years, through some seemingly negative experience of China bombing Tibet. These beings escape go right throughout the world. One of them lands in Howell, New Jersey. And you're getting this information in your own language with your own metaphors complete. There's a special thing there that is allowing you to get this information in a way you get it. There's something there that needs to be looked at. Now I'm preaching. What are the 3 problems of the pot? This was all class 1. Ha! Who's the pot, first of all? And it's not that green stuff. We're the pot. So what are the 3 problems of the pot? Do you know?
We have a dirty pot, we have a hole in the bottom of your pot, or
leaky pot, yeah.
and
Good, that's good. So you could have a...
I can't remember the third one.
closed lid.
A closed lid, so you can't even hear the teaching.
Excellent, yeah. So you come in, you've got a closed lid, you can't even let the stuff in, yeah? You're thinking about Facebook. You're a dirty pot, which means listening to these holy things. Imagine you are actually about to hear the words and concepts that if landed correctly in your consciousness, you could remove every single suffering that you ever had, have, and could have on this planet, and then help other people never have them. Imagine if that's true, and you're a clean pot, that happens. But if you're a dirty pot, what does that mean? You need a potty train? No. It just means that your motivation isn't right. That you're here for fame or fortune, or I can say a few things in Tibetan, I can pick up chicks. Not that I would, yeah? Obviously. Wrong motivation. Why are you listening to this stuff? That's why I asked you to check at the beginning. Because whatever it is, if you're truthful to yourself, and usually it's some limited motivation, I know it is for me, and then I have to force myself to go, if I could get that motivation fulfilled, can I make it bigger? Is there more people than I that need this stuff? It's usually what I have to ask myself. And then that turns my motivation. My motivation, which is usually narrow and small and whatever, it is a truth for me. It's where I'm at. That's what it is. But then can I grow that? And as you grow that, guess what happens? You grow. That's a clean pot. Yeah? But it starts because you need to clean a dirty pot. And a leaky pot is, let's see who doesn't remember. Who doesn't remember what a leaky pot is? Good. Class 1 complete, not quite. Every Lam-Rim text, what's Lam-Rim? Steps on the path, has some basic, every Lam-Rim text has some basic divisions, right? What are the 3 basic divisions of any Lam-Rim text?
The 3 steps on the path.
Lesser, middle, and greater.
What was that?
Lesser, middle, and greater.
Yeah, they all lay out a path to enlightenment for people of 3 scopes, right? So they are of lesser scope, middle scope, or higher scope. Yeah, you all that were on class 1 must remember this, surely. Surely. But what does that mean? You got to remember, these are just words, right? What does it mean? Lesser scope, medium scope, higher scope. So somebody, it's teaching somebody of a lesser scope means someone comes in with what kind of capacity, or you have to scream for that.
Desire to stop all suffering from rest themselves.
Future life groups.
That's middle.
Out of fear of being born at a lower.
That's it. Fear of being reborn at a lower realm. So they're happy to continue the crappy cycles that we go through if you believe in past lives, the explanation is that this life will lead to another life, will lead to another life. If you don't believe in past lives, and that's okay, you shouldn't unless you understand it, then you can at least understand that these cycles that you live in, I have a desire to be loved by somebody. There's a nice girlfriend. Hello, I'll be a girlfriend. She doesn't do what I want. Now I have to fight with her. You do this? No, I do this. I do this. And then, I don't like that girlfriend. There's another girlfriend. I'll go over there. And so, and I keep doing these cycles that produce the same results. And I don't realize that the love that I didn't get from this one is because I didn't give that one the love. And I don't want to get from that one is I didn't. And these mini cycles that we live in, this is samsara from people that don't want to think about past and future lives. For the Eastern countries, that they understood and believed in and believe in future lives, they believe that you'll be reborn. And if you're reborn, you don't want to go to hell. That's what lesser capacity means. It's like, oh, I don't want my crappy existence to be extra crappy. I'm happy for a regular crappy existence. Yeah, I want to have the girlfriend problems. I just don't want to be chopped up in a hot hell. Yeah, that's what that means. So people, that's what that means. So what's the medium capacity? People that,
What Haley said.
what did she say? Well, what she said the first time, absolutely, yeah. So you just want to have another crappy life. Yeah. No. What is it?
You want to relieve suffering for yourself.
For yourself. You just like, I understand that this world creates suffering. That I'm experiencing suffering in this world, and more of this world, no matter what I do, will just cause me more suffering. There's no amount of girlfriends that I could have that would relieve that deep-seated unhappiness. There is no doctor, there is no mother, there's nothing that will alleviate the continuous suffering that we're all forced to experience in this reality. Every being, from a tiny amoeba all the way to the biggest giraffe, and everything in between, must face these things. So people come to that realization at 16 because their best friends died in a car accident. People realize these things at 20, at 30, at 40. By the time you get to 60, I think, or 70, it's like, you really don't have an option but to go, oh, everybody's going. My godmother, for example, 92, I talked to her today. Her sister, who turned 104 the other month, died. And she was like so used to people dying, she wasn't as upset about her sister dying as she was last couple of months when somebody else died in her family. She was more upset because nobody told her than somebody died. It's like, oh, they didn't tell me, and you believe they don't like me that much, do you know? She was more upset about that than somebody that she loved didn't have any more life. We're so used to it by then, So the middle scope is for people that said, I'm sick and tired of this. Things don't work here. No amount of getting the right job, getting the right money, and the rest satisfies us. We want the next thing. I want out. And off they go. They look for these teachings to help them get out. That's medium capacity. What's highest capacity? It's an interactive class, so exactly. You go, wow, I can get out. All you have to do is turn a little bit and look at 7 billion humans, right? Let alone the insects and animals that are floating around. And go, I am not alone. And if I've got the capacity to realize that there is an exit, that there is a way to stop this, and it lies within me, if I understand certain things, and you truly have that in your heart, and you go, there's got to be some wisdom in the world, some teaching in the world, some experience in the world that I can undergo and utterly remove the suffering that causes to this cyclic existence. The next thought, which is that close, is what about my mum? Can I help her do the same? Because she must feel the same way. And what about my brother? And what about my lover? And what about the dog? Yeah, etc. So Lamrim covers all those things. Then we talked about what are the three principal paths. So I want to hand up because I can't hear very well. So what are the three principal? What's the first of the three principal paths?
Renunciation.
Sorry, you have to yell.
Oh, renunciation.
Renunciation, which means what, essentially? You're sick and tired of it. You're like, this isn't going to work. No fancy car. I mean, just think about it. In your early 20s, I've got friends in their early 20s and they're so excited to do their career. And then nobody wants to hire them because they've got no experience, and so they're upset because they know what they want, but they can't get it. And then they get it, right? Someone gives them a job, and then they don't like it They don't like it because it's not quite what they thought. They actually have to do structured things, and they don't like it. It causes you pain. And then eventually you either get numb to it and you either get to like it, or they offer you a bit more money and you get a little bit happier. And either the job changes until you don't like it again, or you get fired and you don't like it. So you work, and then you get into your 30s and 40s and 50s and you're like, do I really have to do that another year? And it was so exciting for you to think about, I'm going to have a career in this. And then you get the job, you love it, then you hate it. Then you don't have it, then you hate it, then you love it and you hate it, and there's no stopping. Yeah, fighting against that isn't going to solve it. Understanding why that is will solve it. So that's what renunciation is, the first of the impulses that gets you out. Yeah, which is, I'm sick and tired of that not working. And you apply that to my lover. I want a girlfriend that makes me happy. I want a boyfriend that is hot. And then everybody wants the boyfriend because they're hot. And they're like, stop, I'm jealous. Stop looking at my boyfriend. Why are you talking to them? Oh dear. I hope Jason Kappa understands that this is for the benefit of all sentient beings. The next, so the next emotion, the next of the three paths. So once you get renunciation, and there's a method and the rest, the next of the paths is what? No, that's the next course. But thank you for trying. You actually, it's interesting because even though you said refuge and it's not the answer under what are the three principal paths, you must have some kind of that thinking before you go to the next thing. Yeah? So thank you. Anyone? Bodhicitta. Yeah. What is bodhicitta? Okay, I want to challenge you all not to allow words to get numb in your head. They must have charge behind them. You must put your emotion behind them. Yeah? So renunciation has to mean something to you. Please think what renunciation is for you. The last time you had that emotion where you're sick and tired of things not working. No matter how much you try, they fail. No matter how beautiful you are today, you're going to look like me eventually. No, seriously. No matter how happy you are about your hair, it's going to look yuck later. Serious. Yeah? But you got to think of the emotion. You got to charge up these words with real content for you. That's how you make it work, not any other way. So it's good we got renunciation. Think of a time you've had renunciation. That's the basis for entering the path. Now you've got to think about what the hell is bodhicitta. What's bodhicitta? Bodhicitta. Bodhicitta.
Try and charge it. It's the realization of what we could all have. All of us, if we escaped suffering.
Spontaneous wish to relieve suffering for all.
Okay. Good. Look at this. If you want charged up, yeah.
It's living the good deeds, just being present and alive and living
Cool.
the good deeds.
Thank you. Sarah?
The wish to get enlightened.
Yes.
For everyone else so you can help them.
Right. So that's the definition. Thank you. I was looking for that. But everything else that was said is true also. Okay? It is the wish to reach, this is the classical definition, the wish to reach a total enlightenment for the sake of every living being. The wish to reach total enlightenment for the sake of every living being. That's bodhicitta. Let's charge those words up now. The wish. The wish. And you said, what did you say? Spontaneous?
Spontaneous.
I like that. The wish is, damn it, you wake up in the morning and you go, I want this. Not ignorant want. I really understand where things come from and I want it. I'm sick and tired. I've got renunciation. I really want this. Charge it up. The wish. The wish to, now you've got to point the bloody thing somewhere, right? The wish to reach something. Reach total enlightenment. Okay. There's another word, we need to charge it up. What's enlightenment? What's enlightenment? Then what's total enlightenment? Is it partial enlightenment? Is it halfway enlightenment? Is there a quarter enlightenment? Why total enlightenment? Full on supercharged enlightenment. No, why total enlightenment? Not enlightenment. Because of their different capacities. Nirvana, Buddhahood. Okay? So Nirvana is, I'm out on my own, thank you very much. Yeah? Buddhahood is a different experience. It's that plus more. So, wish to reach total enlightenment means I will become a Buddha. Someone that has totally and utterly removed every single suffering. Never again in your entire existence could you possibly have a moment of anger, of dissatisfaction, any disturbance in the pond of your consciousness, none whatsoever. And at the same time, understand the total nature of reality, the fabric that sits below this thing that we're experiencing. The ultimate nature of stuff. So to reach enlightenment, the whole thing around Buddhahood. So you've got to wake up and you have this total wish and like feces, I really want to reach enlightenment. And it's not just for me. There are other people that are also falling on their faces every day, trying to get happy, and they don't. And you see them grasping at the next thing and the next thing, and something in you has to say, I want to stop that. That's when you have that spontaneously, that's the second path. When you wake up in the morning and you think, I don't want to do anything else, that's the second path.
It's the only way to elevate yourself is when you recognize that I'm at my best when you're at your best, and if you're not doing well,
Then you
can't possibly.
Yeah, even in a very nominal way, the fact that you're seeing people in your world having those experiences, that's inside you. Your experience of them is inside you. You can shift that.
When Nirvana, you said, is when you don't care about it. You're like, I'm out.
No, Nirvana is the complete cessation of all mental afflictions. You want to get there. It's a nice place, okay? It's not that you don't care. Oh, it's a big debate, because then you go Mahayana and you go Theravada and stuff. Just get somewhere near there, okay? You can't get to Nirvana and get towards that path and not jump onto the Mahayana track. Yeah, you can't just go there and then be blissfully ignorant. Yeah, but the people will debate that based on schools of thinking, and I don't want to get into that. Right? So, yeah, just go there. Go towards that place. Just get the wish to say, if there is a fix, if there is a permanent fix to all the suffering, and I can figure it out, I'll wish for that. Yeah, that's a good place. So that's the second path, the second lum. What's the third lum? What? Correct view. That sounds so bloody authoritarian, doesn't it?
Getting that it's coming from you. That much authority.
Okay. Correct view of what?
Of the world. Of reality.
Of reality. Cool. This is really this is good. Look, it shows me that there's people in the room that understand these core concepts. Yeah? See how that glass was empty and now it's full-ish. Fullish.
Still empty.
Correct view of reality. Yeah? Correct view of emptiness. This idea of emptiness at the core and at the heart of Buddhist thought, that things are empty. They're not empty like the glass is empty. Is the third path. You must get in your hearts, in your mind, an understanding, first of all, that the reality you're experiencing this very moment through your senses what you see, what you hear, what you taste, what you touch, what you feel, what you think, these things are coming to you through the prejudiced filters of a human experience. You have to get that, number one. The world, reality as we know it, is just our prejudice on reality. Yeah, imagine, like I said, like in the spectrum of light, you have ultraviolet, you have what other kinds of light? UV rays, you have regular light, and then you have shades that you can't see, shades of darkness we can't even see. Just within that range of light, the spectrum of light alone, we can only see a slice of it. So what we're seeing at the moment, coming through your eyeballs at the moment, is only a slice of what really sits here. Just at that very practical level, your prejudice. You think this is real. It is not like this. It is like this for you because you are forced to experience it that way through your spectrum. That is true of sound, of taste, that's a joke, of smell, of mind, that's not a joke. So as humans, that's what makes us human, actually, that we share this prejudice. That we share that prejudice over the real world, the reality that truly exists. If you were removing your prejudice, you're trying to find that. Understanding that is understanding the nature of reality. What makes an animal is that they have different filters, that they are forced to have this very same experience completely different to us whilst being here. The idea that something that functions for us as a pen is only a chew toy for someone else, and no amount of sitting with the dog and grabbing their paw and saying, please write, it's for using for write. You can communicate with other dogs and you can get happy. You can get love letters to other dogs. And you don't have to go humping everything. And then you can build an iPhone app, and anyway. No amount of forcing that communication into an animal will get them to understand that this is a pen. For them, it's just something to play with, to chew on. It is forced upon them through their prejudices. You can't force an animal to really get that. Similarly, you can't force a human to really get what lies beyond the nature or beyond the existence we perceive. And this is what the Buddhists have been trying to do. They're like we grabbing a dog and going, what you see in the world is not what it is. This is not a chewable toy. No amount of hitting the dog over the head, of pushing a pen in its mouth, of grabbing the paw really convinces the dog that this is not a chewable toy. The dog don't get it. Similarly, no amount of Buddhists, enlightened beings, people who have seen the ultimate nature saying to you, this thing is empty of having any nature of its own. There is no nature from the pen that comes from the pen. There is no nature in water that comes from water. The fact that you experience it as water is forced upon you by your experience, but no amount of forcing that makes you think that this is not water. What do you see? You see water. And then when you apply a tiny bit of logic, correct view, a tiny bit of logic, if this was water from its own side and it had the qualities that you label the water, it's good for you, it makes you happy, it makes you full of life, etc. And you force it on someone that is allergic to this water, or that doesn't drink water, or can't have that much water in its system. I put all this in me and I feel fantastic. I put it in them, they die. The nature didn't come from the water. And that's true of every goodness that you've experienced, of every badness you've experienced. The shitty boss, the angry person that seems so angry and horrible to you, you get this built up in your system. When you see their face, you want to punch them in the head, but because you're human, you don't punch them in the head, but admit it, you have this thing come up, or you see a stranger in the subway and like, oh, she's a nice person. She could be a total bitch. You don't know. But, you know that she's a nice person. You have this as a reality. You label that empty thing real. No amount of Buddhist bodhisattvas and the rest saying things are empty of having a nature of their own gets us to understand it, like us trying to get a dog to realize that this is not a children's toy. But lucky for us, we have a mind that is capable of experiencing that. We have a condition, a nice balance enough of, we have a mind that can capture it, but it just can't be in this state. What I mean by that is the perfection of wisdom is understanding that things don't have a nature of their own. We'll go through it in detail in one of these classes. And then you enter a state of meditation if you have a strong enough practice and you've imbued your habituation with this understanding, the third of the three paths, the correct view. If you've managed to get enough classroom hours, intellectual understanding of this idea that I just summarized not so well, and then you start trying to break your reality and challenging the idea and see how it applies on an everyday, if that's true, does that mean I can walk in front of a bus because the bus is empty? Oh shit, that bus was full, so you're at the hospital. You know, you try and break this idea until it becomes so ingrained in your mind that it's a second nature habit for you to look for the ultimate nature of things, and that in itself produces an experience that if, when you have a meditation practice, you get your mind to a perfect state of stillness, that combined with this knowledge will produce a direct perception of the ultimate nature of things. We have that capacity in this human form. We have the capacity to be able to habituate our mind to investigate what truly lies behind the fabric of things that we think are very solid. Just thinking about it tells you that they're not the way they are. Understanding that to a level that gets inside of you so much that you start pulling at reality, trying to break it apart every moment, means that your mind is then flavored with that. It has a deeper understanding. If you align with that, a habit of meditating, of getting your body totally still, of shutting down systems that lie to you, eyes, ears, nose, and mouth, and the rest, and get your mind to a set of stillness, and then you enter this thing called the first level of the form realm, and we will go into that. You can actually see, like water being poured into water, you can see, you can experience, you can be at one with this ultimate experience. And for the first time in your entire continuum, you realize that you've never had an accurate perception about this reality until that point. Then you come out of that experience and a few magnificent things happen. Some of them include, you know you're not crazy, you know you've seen something ultimate, you understand what a Buddha is. When you see these images, you recognize that other beings have met these kind of creatures. You understand what it means for you. You see yourself as an enlightened being. And you come out of that experience and you have a, you know, 4 Arial truths and the rest. But the main thing you walk out of that with is a certainty that the way things are lying to you. They've always lied to you. It's not the way they seem. This time you know. And even as they're lying to you, you can see where the lie came from. You fix it. And it takes some time. You fix it. And you remove permanently every single suffering, every single cause of your hurt, every single thing that makes you angry when you see that person, every single thing that makes you fall in love so quickly to somebody that hurts you later. Yeah, because that's the way we think it works. You actually come to that powerful, powerful realization, and there's nobody that can tell you otherwise. That's the 3 principal paths. Mahamudra is what? What's Mahamudra?
The direct perception.
Great seal, which is what? the direct perception of emptiness. Once you have that, that's it. That's sealed the cake. Goodbye samsara. No more crappy existence. Now you know the mechanics of it. That seals the death of that thing. Yeah? It guarantees you're out. And then you try and slow down your out by seeing how many beings you can help come out. And it's this beautiful story of this monk who doesn't want to exit the world. You know, he's had this realization, he doesn't want to leave because he's imagining all these beings in hell and humans, and he wants to stay and help them, and he wants to, so he's doing everything. Every time he thinks about more people that need help, the further away he gets from them, because he's creating the causes and the virtue to not experience that suffering. You know? So it's this beautiful story I'm not going to tell because you're having a break. And we'll meet in 10 minutes over here. Please have some refreshments, have something to drink. Think of the way you're hearing these things for you. Think what that is. Because I'm saying words, some of you look sleepy, some of you look happy, some of you look excited, some of you look bored. Sam looks crazy. And what I'm saying is that whatever is hitting your heart, that does not come from the words, people. Something in you is shifting. Figure that out. Yeah? Where it's landing for you. Think about that. That gives you a clue how to maneuver yourself through the paths, and then we'll talk about this class maybe. So take a 10-minute break. We'll be here just before 9, and then I'll go for half an hour, no more. Promise. Hello, Mark.
People who are at ACI 1 who want their finals and homework.